Hi, Nick Tuckert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Well, folks, I was watching YouTube and I was watching one of my favorite channels, Shadiversity. And Shad was talking about why the rapier isn't a good choice for rogues and why why they really need to carry long swords. Now, if you pay attention, Shad does tend to default to, well, it's interesting because what they really should be carrying is long swords. A long sword, two-handed, means you have less weight, fast, control. Yay, long swords. Okay, and I love Shad. Don't get me wrong, love him. But, somewhere between matriculations and like loving long swords, I think he's missed some points. I've addressed them before. I am addressing them again. In this case, it is why would a rogue carry a rapier? Well, we're going to start. His point was that they weigh the same. So what I did is I took lifesteal arming sword, or as close as I have handy, my lords are, and I have my favorite rapier. This is a touch short, but this is a touch short. They both weigh the same. For most people, this would be considered a short sword, on the border of an arming sword. I'm short enough that this is considered an arming sword. So, allow me my hobbitdom. Okie dokie. Now, the theory is that this is just as agile as this. And they are agile in different ways. Why would a rogue, therefore, carry a rapier? Let's talk a little bit about what a rogue is. A rogue is traditionally a city dweller, usually either of very low or very high birth. This is important. Rogues are not military classes. This is why they don't have proficiencies in things like heavy armor. A rogue is a sneaky civilian thief. Remember that rapiers were a civilian weapon. Okay, they were a weapon of defense, not warfare. That's part of the reason why it's always manual of defense, system of defense. They were used in settling duels. They were used in settling, and they were secondary sidearms. Think of a rapier more like a pistol in modern warfare. Now, of course, I gotta check something. The point of agility. Yes, this is very agile in the cuts. And to get one of these to work really well, they're balanced and weighted for a cut. Sorry, this one's just a little loose. I gotta do some tinkering. Okay. A rapier is faster in the thrust. Now, what Shad claimed was, they weigh the same, so it's faster in the thrust because it's longer, and it is longer. It's faster in the thrust because the point of balance is back here. So, leverage dictates, and this is one of those rules that gets forgotten. The weight of the blade is always levering against you. That means the lighter the tip, the less motion it takes for you to fight to get it online to do things. Rapiers are also customarily gripped in such a fashion to be much more fine. I can write my name in cursive with a rapier. Okay? So they literally are faster. That's just a simple truth. It is easier, quicker, and faster. You need less motion to get a rapier tip online. Now, the other thing is, a rapier is a weapon primarily for thrust. Yes, you can cut with a rapier, not as well as some cutting weapons, but they aren't useless for cutting. But they are intended for thrusting. Now, why does that matter? Well, you have to look at the environment, okay? The environment in which a rogue traditionally fights is a city environment, an enclosed environment, indoors or near streets, bars, brawls, narrow alleyways. In these environments, much like in the forest, you can't swing a greatsword effectively. It limits it greatly. You can't get the leverage to cut. You need to focus on thrusts. Well, heck, if I have to focus on thrusts anyway, why not carry a weapon designed for that? Now, the irony is two short swords or a long dagger, bilbow, like something like this, is ideal for a rapier. For a rogue. This weighs less. This is much more dexterity. You lose the point of range, but remember, again, you're fighting indoors. This is QCB. This isn't a great open battlefield. You're clearing rooms, you're going through narrow places. You need to be able to put the weapon away. Or keep it out of the way. You can clear a room with a rapier, keeping the tip and guiding it, letting it snake its way through. You can. But it is really hard to operate one of these as intended indoors. Yes, you can half sword it, and now you're good. Now you're just finding it like it's a short staff. I'm a big proponent for short staffs. I'm a big proponent for walking sticks. They're a civilian weapon. Thus, they should be in the rogue class set. That makes sense. Walking sticks makes sense because these are things that people in a city might have. But what they don't, this is a martial weapon. The training of these was much more military focused. They also were a pain in the butt to carry around. They might be agile, and you might even do Shad's fancy back, which very few did, but it's a big, bulky weapon. For the same reason that people don't conceal carry rifles very often, they carry pistols as sidearms. This is the medieval equivalent of a battle rifle, in that this is what's going to be on the field, your tried and true weapon. This is it. Most carry a dagger as a fallback. A rapier replaced that. When they started switching to firearms, remember, rapiers were birthed by firearms. The armor that these were designed to fight as part of the arms war started to go away. Thus, these started to fade out, and the weapons that preceded rapiers in military tended to be straighter. They were either curved sabers or straight fighting sabers, like Patton did. They were much closer in function to a rapier than they were to this. They just cut better. You have to consider, when you look at a class and a weapon, would it fit? Rogues are not traditionally military. Now, yes, obviously, you could say, well, you can have a military background, be rogues, spies, that's fine. But then it goes to, if you're going around in a civilian population, carrying one of these, again, it tangles when you go through hallways, it's a pain in the butt to sit with, it's difficult to deal with. That's part of why the guards eventually got much smaller on a lot of sidearms, because they were a pain in the butt. So, what's the other one? We've covered agility. We've covered what? Now, the one I hear a lot as well, it weighs the same. And it does. A rapier is not light. At least as light as people think. People confuse foils and rapiers. But a rapier is. It takes weight-wise, maybe 6 ounces of pressure. I've literally had trigger pulls on firearms heavier than the amount of finger action. I mean, look at this. I'm bobbing this with my thumb and my, literally, I'm supporting it with my 2 front fingers, and I'm bopping it just with my thumb. You can, this you just don't have the leverage. You can do it, but it's simply not that agile. There's a wonderful tool out there. It's an agility graph for understanding how a weapon moves. They're really cool. You should look into them. Now, I don't want people thinking this is hating on Shad. Like I said, I really like Shad. I agree with what he stands for a lot of the time. He's just wrong on this. And, I mean, I understand. He loves the longsword. And a longsword is a wonderful weapon in an open field where you have room to swing it. It is not a great weapon indoors. It's not a great weapon in tight woods. That's why I did an earlier video talking about how you should essentially carry something closer to a machete. Like, we'll just go something more akin to this. Nice little, little saber kind of guy. I made this. I like this. It's not the prettiest function. It's not like, some of Jim's. But it's got enough guard to protect you. It's light. It moves. It's great. But this is going to get bound up. And if you get bound up indoors, in a fight, if you get bound up in the woods, in a fight, if your weapon is tangled on the scenery, you die. And that is the one thing rogues are most about avoiding. Rogues specialize in a mentality of applied cowardice. They stab from behind, they hide in the shadows, and that is okay. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. I realize I kind of went on a tear. I am still a big fan of bilbows and short rapiers. But if you like what I'm doing, like, share, subscribe. If you don't like what I'm doing, comment anyway. Tell me what's wrong. Like it, dislike it. I want the feedback. If Shad gets to see this, love you, Shad, but you're mistaken. And maybe someday we can sit and have a discussion about that. All right? If you want to learn how I fight, please consider picking up The Simple Sword by Nicholas Tockert, available through Amazon. And that'll be in the gobbledygook below. And I'll put Shad's video in the bottom too, because, I want to be fair. So, as always, support your local swordmaster.